There's an old proverb that states, "Pride goes before destruction and haughtiness before a fall." So I have a question for you. Do you have pride? No, I'm not talking about school pride or pride in your work. I'm talking about the sin of pride. Pride is a very sneaky entity because its progenitor is Satan, who is very conniving and sneaky himself. Before you know it, pride could roll up on you without warning or even a notice. So how do I know? Glad you asked. Bible 360 starts right now. Welcome to another episode of the Bible 360 podcast. I am still your host, Keyston Franson. As I began my college career at North Carolina A&T State University, I knew that I had plans to get involved with the television station on campus. So, as I walked into Mr. Devaney's office, the television studio manager at the time, little did I realize that pride walked in behind me. As I began speaking, pride began speaking as well, and before I knew it, I began bragging and boasting about my level of experience with the camera. Mr. Devaney listened and believed what pride was telling him. So as time progressed, pride continued to follow me without notice. Eventually, God saw fit and I received the opportunity I was fishing for. Homecoming, or GHO as we call it in Aggieland. I finally received my first booking as the camera operator for one of the big homecoming events being held off campus. However, pride didn't come with me this time. Instead, it decided to sleep in because it already worked so hard. I proceeded to the location and filmed the homecoming concert on a camera that I had little experience with, despite what pride told my advisor prior to the engagement. Surprisingly, I did okay, but the audio started acting up, and as a result, the footage was unusable. Next up, the gospel concert. Everything was going as planned until I accidentally left the camera unattended, sitting on the tripod. In production, that is a big no-no. Anything could happen. It could tilt over, someone could knock it down, you name it. Mr. Devaney made sure that I learned a lesson. He went behind my back and laid the camera down on the ground. When I returned, I was in total shock and Mr. Devaney stood disappointed. The next morning, Mr. Devaney brought me into his office. As he was scolding me, he reminded me that I had came in there bragging and boasting about what I had done in the past. That's when it dawned on me. I allowed pride to make a fool of me. You see, God had been resisting me. It was like his palm was firmly planted on my forehead as I walked through life, and it was really uncomfortable, and it was constant. He doesn't body slam the proud, he just resists them. But God gives grace, which are free gifts that we don't deserve or earn, to the humble, and he exalts them in due time. Could it be that God is resisting you in your relationships, business, church, or another area of your life? Remember, with pride comes contention. The reason we shouldn't sin isn't just that the Bible says not to or because it's wrong. We don't avoid sin just because we could get caught or it could mess up our future or because we'll miss out on blessings. No, we should avoid sin because it hurts our relationship with God. If you know that you have even a little bit of pride in your heart and you're not that fazed by it, it's like raising your fist in God's face and saying, "Hey God, I don't care that I'm regularly walking and living in this sin of pride. I'm okay with not having all that great a relationship with you." If that's you, then watch out. God is resisting you. And because he loves you, you'll likely have some humiliation coming, which will process humility in you. However, at the end of the day, we'll always battle pride, but if we know what it looks like when it flares up, we can knock it back down before too much damage is done. If people can't recognize what the signs of cancer look like, then they'll never know they need help. As for today, I warn you, be careful and stay on the lookout for pride. It is the son of Satan who's proud to admit it. So stay close to God so you can stay away from pride. Think about it. Hey, I want to say thanks again for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed it, please show me some love and go on over to YouTube and subscribe to my page, Bible 360 Outreach, and hit that bell right next to it so you know when I'm posting. You can also find the show listed in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and pretty much any other podcast directories. Until next time, I wish you a very pleasant adieu.